Right, good evening, ladies and gentlemen. Thank you for waiting patiently for us to reconvene for a closed session. There is nothing to report, so I'd like to adjourn the special meeting at 6:04. I want to call the regular City Council meeting to order at 6:04 on Wednesday, October the 24th. And Mr. Clerk, if you can read the Metro replay schedule.
Thank you, Mayor. This meeting of the Elk Grove City Council will be replayed on Metro Cable Channel 14 on Friday, October 26th at 1 p.m. and Monday, October 29th at 8 p.m. It is being closed captioned and will be webcast at sacmetrocable.tv. City Council meeting videos are also archived on the city's website at elkgrovecity.org. For members of the audience who may have personal electronic devices, please place them on silent mode during the meeting. Elk Grove City Council welcomes, appreciates, and encourages participation in the City Council meeting. City Council requests that you limit your presentation to 3 minutes per person so that all present will have time to participate. City Council reserves the right to reasonably limit the total time for public comment on any particular noticed agenda item as it may deem necessary. If you wish to address the Council during the meeting, please complete one of the blue speaker cards, which can be found at the back of the room, provided to the Assistant City Clerk prior to consideration of the agenda item. Thank you, Mayor.
Okay, roll call, please.
For the roll call, Councilmember Nguyen. Councilmember Detrick is absent. Councilmember Hume.
Here.
Vice Mayor Suen.
Here.
And Mayor Lee.
I am here. And next item.
It'll take us on to the Pledge of Allegiance.
And we have some special guests here in council chambers. We have representatives from the pharmacy school. I'd like to invite Ryan Sauer to come on up and lead us in the pledge.
Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you. And at the beginning of every regular city council meeting, the council would like to invite members of the public to join us in a moment of silence, please. Thank you. I'd like to also note that there was a request from the Sikh community to adjourn this meeting in honor of the 1984 incident that occurred, certainly not here in the United States, but I think it's important to acknowledge that many of the community members who are living here are also from that part of the world. I'd like to request that when we adjourn the meeting today, it will be in their honor of those who have been impacted and of those who are living here in Elk Grove as well. Thank you. We have an agenda in front of us.
Move to approve.
Got a motion? Got a second? All in favor? Aye. Opposed? Abstention? Next item.
We have no closed session items under Section 3, which will take us to Section 4, our presentations and announcements, starting with item 4.1, which is a proclamation declaring October 2018 as American Pharmacist Month.
Excellent. As I mentioned, we have some guests here from the pharmacy school. What we have here is a proclamation from the City Council as a whole. I'd like all of you to come on up, and I'll go ahead and read the proclamation. So this month, the month of October 2018, is American Pharmacist Month. Know your medicine, know your pharmacist. Whereas pharmacy is one of the oldest of the health professions concerned with the health and well-being of all people. And pharmacists are specifically educated with a focus and level of expertise on medication therapy and are ideally suited to work collaboratively with the healthcare providers and patients to improve medication use and outcomes by providing services through medication therapy management. And it is important to promote the profession of pharmacy as an essential healthcare provider. And pharmacists provide both expertise and accessibility, which are crucial to patients fully optimizing access to medications that are not self-administered, such as, but not limited to, immunization, and the American Pharmacists Association and the California Pharmacists Association, which have proclaimed October as American Pharmacist Month with the theme, Know Your Medicine, Know Your Pharmacist. Therefore, be it resolved that the City Council of the City of Elk Grove hereby proclaims October 2018 as American Pharmacist Month in the City of Elk Grove and urges all citizens to acknowledge the valuable services provided by pharmacists in our community. We have a resolution here we'd like to present to you. Why don't you go ahead and make your comments, and I'll invite the whole entire City Council to come and do a photo op.
So thank you, everyone, for having us here. On behalf of the students of California North State University College of Pharmacy, we would like to thank you for this honor. As one of the most trusted healthcare providers, it's important to remind the community that we are here to help. From everything such as which over-the-counter medication to use, to answering any questions on any complicated disease states that you may suffer from. It's easy to think that pharmacists only count pills, but there's a lot that occurs behind the scenes before the prescription reaches you. We are a health resource to use and often go underutilized. The number one thing we strive for as pharmacists is patient safety. You trust us with your health, and that trust must be maintained through accessibility, knowledge, and safety. So we thank you again for this honor, and we hope that this proclamation will provide more knowledge on how we as pharmacists can impact the community.
And I just want to note for the record, the other day I did sit in with the students at the pharmacy school for a flu shot, although I already got mine, so it was a mock flu shot, but nonetheless, it was important. For the members of the community that you haven't gotten your flu shot, make sure you get your flu shot.
Absolutely.
Excellent.
Thank you.
Members, if you could. All right, 4.2, new hires.
Good evening, Mr. Mayor, members of the City Council. I'd like to introduce and recognize some new city employees as well as promotions for the City of Elk Grove. Wanted to start with Kathleen Daly, who is a council assistant for Councilmember Wynn. Wants to come on forward. Do you want to say anything?
Hello.
Great. So Kathleen has been with us for quite some months now, and we failed to introduce her when she first came on board. But I stole Kathleen from Kaiser. She's worked with Kaiser here in Elk Grove for many, many years and has probably received so many acknowledgments and recognition for her customer service and working in the community. So I feel really fortunate to have her working with me, but she's also been a huge asset in helping the entire council as well, too. So please join me in welcoming her to be a part of this team.
Next, we'll turn it over to our police chief, Brian Albert.
Thank you, Mr. Behrman. Mayor, council members, it's always a pleasure to be able to take a minute to introduce you to our newest employees. These are our team members that we've hired over the last quarter. As you can see, there are quite a few. Believe it or not, there are about 4 of them that were not able to make it tonight due to shift work, et cetera. So I'm going to keep my comments a little briefer than normal since we have so many to get through. And I'm going to introduce these folks to you in the order that they were hired. So I'm going to start and just ask you guys, just let them know when I say your name. I'm going to start with Sarah Humley. That's Sarah on the end. Sarah is our Animal Services Manager. You may or may not have had a chance to meet Sarah since she's been here. She started with us July 16th, and we lured her here all the way from Pensacola, Florida. And we're glad to have Sarah on the team. Yeah. Next up is dispatcher Jennifer Fiddler, and Jen wasn't able to be here tonight. Jen comes with about 7 years of experience from the Placer County Sheriff's Department as a dispatcher. So she was a lateral dispatch hire, and she started with us July 22nd of this year. Next up, and Janelle is not here either, unfortunately, Janelle Bokorin. She was formerly worked in the finance department, I believe, and we hired her as a records technician here at our department. She started on August the 6th. Next up is Daniel Montanez, right here behind me. We hired Daniel as an IT analyst, and that took effect August 20th of 2018. Next up, Dickinson Mua. Where's Dickinson? Right behind me. Dickinson is one of our newest police officers. He started with us on September the 17th and joined us as an entry-level police officer. Next up is Liz Jacobson. Where's Liz? Liz is right here. So Liz is our new crime analyst that I've made some reference to previously in some of our meetings. Liz joined our team on September the 17th of this year and comes with several years of experience as a crime analyst with Woodland, with the city of Woodland and the police department there specifically. Next up is Christy Saucedo. There's Christy. Christy is a lateral police officer. She came from Santa Clara County. I'm sorry, I almost said Contra Costa. Santa Clara County, where she had about 4 years of experience, and she joined our team on October the 1st of this year. Next up is Brian Gates. There's Brian on the end. Brian is an entry-level police officer that began with us on October 1st of this year. And another dispatcher who wasn't able to be here tonight, her name is Haley Ricketts. Haley started here October 1st of this year. And last but certainly not least of the new hires that I'd like to introduce you to is our new captain, Rodney Rigo. There's Rodney behind me. So Rodney's joined our department as a member of our senior staff management team. Rodney comes with 25 years or so of experience from the city of Stockton at Stockton Police Department, and we hired Rodney as our new captain earlier this month. So we're very happy to have all these folks on board. And before I conclude, I just want to point out our newest folks that were most recently promoted. I'll start with a couple of new sergeants. First is Joaquin Farina. Where's Joaquin?
Hey.
You all know Joaquin. Joaquin was promoted to sergeant on the 14th of this month, so very recently, as was Jared Perez, Sergeant Perez. So they were both promoted on the same day, and we're glad to have them on the supervisory team. One person that was promoted as well, her name is Danielle Kelly. She was a records technician previously. She was promoted to an administrative assistant position in our Professional Standards Bureau. So that rounds out our new hires. So thank you for the opportunity. I appreciate it.
Excellent.
Welcome. Yeah, congratulations to you on promotion.
You guys want to come up here? Quit talking to each other. Let's go. Good evening, Mayor, Vice Mayor, council members. I have the pleasure of highlighting two recent promotions in Public Works. I'll start with Brian Stoddard. Brian's worked for the city for about 7.5 years in facilities. He actually has about 15 years worth of experience, and he was recently promoted to senior facilities technician. And we're very lucky to have him. So lucky that he's stuck around and is willing to take on some additional responsibilities. In addition, Kevin Busey, I know you know him. He's given several presentations. He came to us as a senior civil engineer back in March 2016, has 17 years of experience. We stole him from T.Y. Lin, and we recently promoted him to Capital Facilities Manager. Capital Facilities Manager, what am I talking about? Capital Projects Manager. And I've warned him it's a tough job, but he's been doing a great job so far, and I'm really thrilled that he's sticking around as well, because he's going to do a great job. I know both of them are. So thank you.
Yeah.
Okay.
Congratulations.
Congratulations.
Good evening, Mayor, Vice Mayor, members of council. Shane Diller from Development Services. I'm filling in for Director Wilson this evening. I want to introduce two of our newest hires. First, she over here. Elisa Tutt joins us as an administrative analyst working in the Housing and Public Services Division. She's primarily working on grants management and affordable housing issues. She comes to us from the Conservation Corps, where she also oversaw grants and coordinated projects for them. Prior to that, she's worked with several nonprofits, both here in California and government agencies in Colorado. I also want to introduce Susan Obad, who recently joined the Planning Division as an administrative assistant. Susan comes to us from Wildan. She was working in Public Works under contract for about the last year, and we've recently hired her into the planning division. So it's great to have her on board, and it's a nice, sweet steal from Public Works. So we felt good about that. Susan's a longtime resident of Elk Grove, and her 3 children attend the Elk Grove School District's schools here. We want to welcome both of them to Development Services, and are pleased they're here. Thanks.
Welcome.
Welcome.
Okay, is that concluded? All right, next item.
Take us on to section 5, public comment.
Public comment. First speaker is Boyce Jeffries. Following Boyce is Mark Graham.
Good evening, mayors and city council, and good luck in the upcoming election for your reelection bids. But just before I get started, did we ever, the last item I discussed with you, I brought to your attention was this bill that we bought the permits in New York City. Did you ever get an answer? Did council ever get an answer of why we went to New York City to buy permits?
To be honest with you, I don't remember where we left it. Jason, do you
That's-
remember?
I think Public Works Director
Yeah, I
can
think
respond to that.
they were, I think it was an existing contract, and so we're not going to order from them anymore. Obviously, we can get them produced here, so we're just going to do that. I think additionally, there was a question about the cost, and I think the cost that was quoted last time was for a bundle of 10, so the actual physical cost of each permit is about $1.
I'm assuming the city has a purchasing policy, and I would sort of believe that would have to be buy local first. I don't see the reasoning to go all the way back to New York City to order parking permits.
I think you said we're not going to do that anymore, but you're
Well,
right. Good
my
point. It's a
point
good
being
point.
it probably
It's a good
should have
point.
never happened.
It's a good point.
Okay, thank you.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
Do you have more?
Okay, I have
go ahead.
more. 3 minutes again?
Yeah.
I'll be back. Okay. I do, if there's a customer service award that the city gives out, you have 2 fine young ladies here, Miss Nuff and Miss Haggard. They deserve it, okay? They truly do. And just for information, I had some experiences this past 2 weeks. A tractor trailer was coming on Mini Circle, and it was huge. You know, it's where they'd drop off the trailer, he'd go dump. What he was carrying, I don't know, I didn't check. Come back, pick up the trailer, or leave the trailer, just pick up the bed and haul it again. So I called Miss Nuff, and that happened for a few days. Finally, it was relocated on Valley Oak Street, which is more of an appropriate place, but having Mini Circle as a staging area, that's ludicrous, especially at the S-turn that I have there. You know, those are pretty wide of that nature. And then also, I brought to her attention, there were some palm trees that were getting a pineapple cut on Elk Grove, Florence. You had a private contractor, private property, but yet it was encroaching on the sidewalk and the street. All they had was there a cone on the sidewalk on the south and on the north. No signage, nothing. And if you ever trimmed a palm tree, those limbs are pretty dangerous, especially if they can't win. So, but she took care of that or sent somebody out. And then the other one I have, and police chief, do not take this personally, because you guys do a fine job. Friday the 12th was homecoming, okay? Great. And whoever did the parade route, I commend them. One of the smartest things I ever saw done. Just going up Elk Grove, Florence, making a short U-turn and coming back, because the floats are on only one side. So it gave the people the opportunity to view it on each side on Elk Grove, Florence. Great move, great. But I had a pickup truck right on the first S-turn. It was on the sidewalk, was up. And I called dispatch, I'm assuming, chief, and she said, oh, we'll get an officer out there. Well, the officer didn't arrive for 2 hours later. And I understand that. My dad was a police chief. I grew up in law enforcement. And he said day shift was slammed, okay? He gave me a call, very nice and courteous, okay? I do appreciate your service and to your officers. You guys do a fantastic job for the community. But all I'm trying to point out is that, again, as I stated in my initial email to council on the 23rd, that
You can wrap it up, please.
what, I'll be back.
You can wrap it up.
Okay.
Thank you.
Oh, has plenty of parking. What is the financial impact of implementing the program? Also, called out for enforcement. I'm sure PD has better tasks to do, right from the get-go. Okay. But for the record, what I'd like, is copies of all the invoices for permits, the cost of signs, installation of signs for all 3 PPZs. Okay? Jason, you got that? Okay? Okay. See you in a couple of weeks.
Thank you.
Again, good luck.
Next
Okay.
speaker is Mark Graham. After Mr. Graham is Michael Armstrong.
Good evening, Mayor and Council. Mark Graham, good to see you again. I've heard a lot about stealing tonight. I think I heard stealing mentioned 3 times in the context of hires. And I want to come back to my favorite topic, and that is the cell antenna policy that the city is developing. And remind you that these cell antennas, what they expose us to is involuntary exposure to 4G and 5G electromagnetic pulse radiation. And what I don't want is for the city to steal our health or our property values. Now, I sent you an email yesterday regarding the history of 2 bills in the legislature, AB 57 from 2015 and SB 649 from last year. What these bills have in common was that they were both about telecommunications policy, and into both bills, and I showed you the exact citation, the legislature wrote in an exemption for firefighters. AB 57 said the wireless telecommunication facility must not be placed on fire department facilities. And SB 649, which of course Elk Grove and 325 other cities opposed last year, which was a blatant attempt by the telecom companies to steal away the city and county's power to regulate what gets permitted on public property, that said it was defining a small cell, and they said the small cell is not located on a fire department facility. What was going on here? Firefighters, first of all, they're among the healthiest people in our society, right? They have to be for the jobs that they do. And if you see firefighters, whether in Elk Grove or any city, you can just tell instantly they're very physically fit. But they know from long experience, because there have been a lot of cell antennas and towers installed in fire department buildings, and they know from long experience that it degrades their health, and it's progressive and cumulative. And for example, it slows their response time. There have been studies on firefighters that showed that it slowed their physical response time. And as a result, and they had this in the email, the International Association of Firefighters put out, they took a position in 2004, which is still their position to this day, which basically said, we are opposed to the siting of cell antennas and cell towers on fire department facilities until a study of the highest merit and integrity is done, which proves that such sightings are not harmful to our members. International Association of Firefighters. And there were 45 footnotes to that link, to that statement, and most of those are scientific studies. Now, I don't have all those links with me, but you have to consider that. If the healthiest people in a society got an exemption written into these 2 bills, now nobody else got an exemption. You know, the nurses, the doctors, the attorneys, the engineers, the architects, the city council members, it was just the firefighters. They are a powerful lobby, and they got what they wanted. Senator Hueso's bill and Bill Quirk's bill. Anyway, it's hazardous to our health. The firefighters know it, and that is one way that we know. They were simply recognizing the scientific research that's out there and what firefighters across California and across the country and across the world have learned from their own experience in working in a facility that had a cell antenna on top of it. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. Our final speaker is Michael Armstrong.
Good Good evening, City Councils and Mayor and Vice Mayor and Police Chief and everyone else that is here. I'm here to request the presence of everyone here, the Mayor and the Vice Mayor, as well, predominantly due to the fact that I'm hosting an event. Sorry, I'm a little nervous.
It's all right.
I'm hosting an event for mental illness. And the event that I'm hosting is the proceeds and the help is for refugees. I know the mayor is strong for both refugees and mental illness. Forgive me, I'm not very familiar with you, Vice Mayor, but where the event is held is Armand's Palace, which is in your district. So I would like everyone to come out, even the general public. It is December 11th, and also, Police Chief, I would like to request your presence as well. I hear that you guys have a crisis unit. Is this true?
We're starting a mobile crisis response unit. I think that's what you're referring to.
Yes. Is that up and running?
We're about 2 weeks away, I believe, from actually starting it.
Okay, well, that's perfect timing then, because it's in December. So among that request, if I can speak to you or someone can pass me your business card so I can email you, so I can have a representative come out and speak on that, and also come and help people in need. And I also, besides requesting, I hope to see you guys with more events and working with the city of Elk Grove personally. Do I have any, is there any questions?
No, thank you.
Thank you. Have a blessed day.
Thank you.
Yeah. All right, seeing that there are no additional speaker, let's go to the next item.
Take us to Section 6, General Administration Information.
All right, we have something, I think, pretty exciting that we wanted to show you. Council may be aware that we, in the last year, we hired Krista Lumry, who is typically here tonight. She's not here tonight, but she does all the videos and social media stuff for the city, doing some fantastic work. Her and Krista and the whole public affairs team is really putting on some great content to really get the city out there to connect more with the residents. The most recent project that Krista just recently completed is a police recruitment video. And there's another item on here later talking about police recruits. And so we wanted to share that with the city council and members of the public this evening, if you would indulge us for a few minutes. I think Jason's going to get it loaded.
clap your hands.
What do you think?
Where do I sign up?
Pretty good.
It's very good. I think it strikes a good balance between all those things that just popped up at the end.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, it's, she does an amazing job. We're looking to expand the program to other kinds of things. I think video really helps connect with everybody, but particularly with millennial generation, the new kind of younger people wanting to get into this kind of thing. And so we're really excited about the capabilities going forward, so.
Great job.
Where will this be? Is this going to be on the website, or do you plan on just sending it out?
Everywhere.
Okay.
Yeah, city's website, YouTube channel, social media sites. I'm trying to get it out there as well as through other kind of recruiting avenues that we have.
Very well done. I like how it showcases all the specialty units as well, too, so that was,
Absolutely.
Is this, was this in-house, the crew that did it? Wow.
Krista
Really? Wow, good job.
did a great job.
Very well done. Yeah.
Chief, can I get you to intro this next item?
I don't have my notes in front of me, so I'm gonna ad-lib this a little bit. I think what Mr. Behrman's referring to is we are, at the police department, we are going to participate in No Shave November for the month of November in the interest of increasing awareness, raising funds for cancer awareness. And there's a few different organizations that we're looking at. We're still kind of narrowing that down. But what we're going to be doing for the month of November is somewhat relaxing our normal grooming standards to allow our police officers to grow facial hair in a tasteful manner. And the plan is for the officers that want to participate, myself included, we will make a donation to the charity. And that will be, it's kind of a pay-to-play scenario, if you will. So for the officers that are interested in participating, they'll make a donation, and then for the month of November, they'll be able to grow their facial hair. This is not, I've not seen it in our region, so it will be a little unique, I suppose. But it's pretty prevalent across the country, certainly in corporate America. It's not unheard of. And so that's our plan. Right now, we're still working on, again, identifying the specific charity, because ideally what we would like to do is do some social media campaigning next week and get the word out so that our residents know why the officer might be showing up at their house with a beard. For one thing, but also to invite, frankly, to invite the public and anybody who's interested in joining our team, our cause. They certainly could grow the facial hair or not if they choose, but they can, we'll provide some links to our team so that if folks are inclined and they want to make a donation to the charity, they can certainly do that.
Excellent.
I haven't shaven in 3 months, so I don't think I'll be a very good candidate.
Excellent. Thanks, Chief. Appreciate that. Moving on, the Arts Commission Iris Awards are coming up on November 2nd, which is Friday at Elk Grove Pavilion, beginning at 5:30. The Arts Commission has introduced the Iris Awards in honor for late Iris Zimbelman, co-founder of the Strauss Festival of Elk Grove. Iris was a lifelong supporter of music and the arts in the Elk Grove community. 6 local residents will be recognized in the awards program inaugural year. More information, please contact Lana Yoshimura or visit the city's website. We are out on the street right now seeking artists for our capital improvement projects, one more for the Commons and several for our animal shelter, all of which are under construction right now. People know the vote is coming up, so we've got opportunities here at City Hall. People can drop off their ballots. Also, reminder, we have Food Truck and Finance City Workshop coming up tomorrow evening at 6 o'clock here in the City Council chambers. Come and learn about city finances and how we go about programming for important needs and services in our community. Also, another reminder, Elk Grove's Multicultural Committee will host the Festival of Lights. It's on Tuesday, October 30th, beginning at 6 o'clock at Laguna Town Hall. Free event will feature cultural dancing, colorful decorations, and refreshments. Details are available on the city's website. And then one item to note, under the standing citywide initiatives was with the Civic Center, things continue to progress over there. They're installing lighting in the pool, on the pool deck, and they're also doing some interior painting. One thing that the public may notice is on the commons, the outdoor area, large sections of concrete have been removed due to excessive cracking. That's at the responsibility of the contractors, not an additional cost to the city. We've had some questions raised about what's happening there, and it was not up to city standards, and so the city required them to remove it, and that'll be reported here shortly. That's it. Happy to answer any questions the council might have.
Okay, any questions? There are no questions. All right, move to the next item.
Take us to section 7, council comments, reports, and future agenda items.
Okay, Councilman Hume.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Attended an Economic Development Ad Hoc Committee meeting where we got an update on potential economic development incentives for a new employer potentially coming to town, as well as our elevated retail and some of the other projects that are in the hopper. Went to the Franklin High School Marching Band Competition, which, for those of you that aren't aware, every year, the same weekend, which is the first weekend in October, the Franklin High School has a marching band competition where they do both marching bands like a parade route, as well as then they'll do field formations over at Cosumnes Oaks later in the day. And so everybody loves a parade, and in a parade, everybody loves a marching band, so what's better than a parade of marching bands? So really was a great time and a lot of talented students. Attended the ARI, the Asian Resources Dinner, on Saturday night, and got to recognize our fellow council member, who's the executive director of that organization. Had a Construction Careers Ad Hoc Committee meeting that I thought went very well, and we presented some strengthened pre-qualification language that was then sent over to the members of the meeting to look over. Attended the chamber mixer. I went to the Assistance League and presented them with the proclamation from the city. They were very happy to receive that item. I was the auctioneer at the Teen Center Barbecue Bash on Friday night. It was a great event, very well attended. And then the following night was the auctioneer for the Strauss Groovy Masquerade Ball, also very well attended. We had an RT meeting Monday night. I see a couple folks from RT in the audience out there. Hi there. The main item of discussion was the annexation of Folsom into the district and how it changed weighted voting. And in the staff presentation on one of the items was mentioned what it would look like if Elk Grove were annexed into the district. And so I'd like to ask council if there's concurrence for staff to start parsing that. And I see Mike Costa in the back of the room for a later item to start parsing what that might look like, pros and cons of potentially re-annexing with RT.
Absolutely.
Okay. Our sanitation board district was canceled this morning. And then I want to move on to a couple of positive items, I think. I was listening to KFBK today and heard a report about a couple of our officers, Officer Meyerdick and Freitas, who went above and beyond the call of duty they came across a 82-year-old woman who was clearing some brush on her property, and they proceeded to help her clear the brush. And nobody would have ever known about it except for the fact that she then called to make a point that these officers had stopped to help her. So I think that's indicative of the kind of officers we have, the department we run, and I just want to congratulate the chief, and please ask to pass that on to them to really give them our thanks for being above and beyond.
Hear, hear. Yep.
Also read a story about a gentleman by the name of Jeff Garrett, who acted as a good Samaritan when he heard a crash outside of his house at 3 a.m., peeked over his back fence to see a vehicle on fire, and without hesitation came to the aid of the passengers in the vehicle and removed 3 of them from the burning vehicle. So I'd like to see, I know the police is looking at potentially presenting them with recognition. I'd like to see us as well present them at a council meeting.
We have a request in for that, and the fire, police, and fire presented the other night.
Okay, great.
Excellent.
And then the last thing is, Chief, if I could just get, now that summer's over, get a report back of whether or not the Happy Ticketing campaign was implemented and how, and kind of some numbers on that, then we can do that offline. Thank you. Thank you.
Okay, Vice Mayor, go ahead.
Soon. I'm just kidding.
I know who you are.
In addition to what Councilmember Hume mentioned a lot about the Franklin Band Review, as well as the ad hoc committee meeting and our economic development meeting, Teen Center and Strauss, co-hosted an event with eBay and Assemblyman Cooper at the Wackford Center to teach our residents on how to start a business on eBay. co-hosted a meeting with Councilmember Detrick, in which the rest of the council was in attendance as well for the, it was the inaugural here in the council chambers, North Laguna Creek Valley High Community Association. So for those folks who don't know, that the boundaries of that community association encompass Districts 1, District 3 in our city, but also Districts 7 and 8 in Sacramento. And we were talking about how a community doesn't stop at city boundaries. So this is a unique organization where you've got two different jurisdictions in the same boundaries. Attended the Affordable Housing Summit. A lot of conversation about affordable housing, homelessness, how affordable housing is financed. It was attended by many representatives from throughout the Sacramento region. Had an opportunity to be a panelist for the Sacramento Metro Chamber of Commerce, their Metro Edge program, just giving some career advice to some folks getting an earlier start in their careers. And then we had a SACOG board meeting, and I'm proud to announce that we approved, and maybe you heard later tonight or in consent, but it was we approved a transportation demand management grant to pilot bike share programs within the city of Elk Grove and along the 50 corridor. So look forward to seeing how we can incorporate bike share in our community. Attended a local veterans business meeting here in Elk Grove with Councilman Detrick, Councilmember Wynn. Basically just trying to help veterans start their own business and give them any support that they need. And then hosted the SACOG's unmet transit needs here in the council chambers last night. And then as vice chair of the Library Authority, attended the Walk for Literacy, which is sponsored by the Sacramento Library Foundation. And that's it. Thank you.
Thank you, Vice Mayor. Councilmember Nguyen.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I missed the last meeting. I do want to thank the entire council. We hosted, I did, for the first time in my district, a crime and safety forum, which had 50 people in attendance. I want to thank our city manager as well for being there. And what I got out of that is a lot of email and response asking for more of those. So hopefully, assuming everything goes well November 6th, I hope to do more of those, not just in my district, but hopefully to partner with the other council members and do them all around the city here. I did also attend the ad hoc community meeting with the mayor, and I'm not sure if you reported on it last time, but I thought it went really well. We had a lot of our community-based organizations that attended and was really wanting to find a way where we can work together more. A lot of it was around workforce development, and while everybody wants to be a part of that and play a role in that, the expertise is not there. So we'll be working with those community groups on getting them prepared, so that way we can train our young folks and folks here in our city to take on the jobs that we'll be bringing here to our city. And attended many of the events that our Vice Mayor and Councilmember Hume mentioned earlier. I have Public Library Authority meeting tomorrow, and want to thank the chief for, again, being a part of our Links to Law Enforcement program. We have graduation on November 1st at the Sacramento Police Department in Atrium. I'm hearing we have about 26 from the API cohort, 40 from the Latino cohort, and about 23 from the African American cohort. So a wonderful group of young folks who are interested in being a part of law enforcement, and hopefully we can grab on some of those. That's all I have.
Excellent. Without being redundant, I'm going to waive the remainder of my report. The only two I want to highlight is sanitation meeting was canceled this morning, and then I have air quality tomorrow. That being the case, let's move to the next item.
Take us to Section 8, our consent calendar items.
Okay, I want to open public comment. I have two speakers signed up to speak. First is Mark Graham for 8.14.
And I'll note that Mr. Graham did submit a PowerPoint presentation. It was in accordance with our policy to have that, receive that within 24 hours, and I'll assist to pull that up.
Okay.
Is it showing up?
And I believe it should be up, and with the arrow keys, you should be able to navigate on the keyboard.
Got it. Okay. Well, good evening, Mayor and Council. Mark Graham. I would have stuck around at the September 26th meeting if I had known that the council was going to have a discussion about a community workshop on cell antenna policy. I'm glad that you did. And thank you, first of all, for committing to hold this workshop. This is going to be a really important step. And as I see it, that it's really important to hold it on the right date. I've got lots of recommendations regarding format, timing, and that sort of thing, so that people can get accurate information and complete information as to what AT&T has proposed. All right. The number one thing I would say is please don't do it on November 28th. November 28th is 6 days after Thanksgiving. It's less than 1 month before Christmas. People's minds are going to be in Christmas mode. People are not going to want to come to the City Council for a special meeting on cell antenna policy. A friend of mine I was talking to a friend of mine about this yesterday, and he used a term which I thought was particularly appropriate, called holiday torpor. Do you know the word torpor? Well, I looked it up. Torpor is a noun. Definitions. Number one, a state of mental or physical inactivity or insensibility. Number two, lethargy, apathy. And three, this is less applicable, the dormant, inactive state of a hibernating or estivating animal. Now, none of us are hibernating or estivating animals, but we all know that every year, and it's not just Elk Grove or California, it's the United States, people check out. Between Thanksgiving and New Year's, people's minds are on Christmas. You cannot compete with Christmas. And the result is, if the council holds this community workshop on that day, you will have rows and rows of empty seats. You will have far fewer people than would otherwise attend. So please pick a date in January. Hire the independent expert in the field that I've recommended. I've sent you his qualifications and references, and I still intend to call some of them, and I hope that you will too. I hope that the city will widely publicize this community workshop, much greater than simply putting it on the agenda. Do it the way you publicize general plan updates. I think it should be scheduled for at least 2 hours. You should consider having a second community workshop in January to answer the questions that don't get answered the first time around, and so that you'll have more people in attendance. I think it's important that the city should make it really clear to the community what AT&T has proposed, and it's right here on this slide. 4G and 5G cell antennas on telephone poles in residential neighborhoods. They want to exclude the Planning Commission and the City Council from the permitting process and have it all run through the Department of Public Works, and they wouldn't have much discretion either. They would simply have a checklist. And finally, no notice to residents of a permit application, no opportunity to challenge it or say no. Oh boy, we should have a fiber optic network, a citywide fiber optic network. On October 2nd, I was out on East Stockton Boulevard, north of Grant Line, and Comcast was installing fiber optic networks in the ground. And if they can do it, the city can encourage these wireless carriers to do the same thing, and they could build it out. They could have a partnership. The city should also make it clear when you're having this community workshop that we have other options, and one of them is to do what Petaluma and the city of Mill Valley have done, and that is basically say you can apply for a permit for one of these cell antennas in a commercial or industrial zone subject to these requirements, and that's how you keep them out of residential neighborhoods. Remember that according to the Verizon CEO, Lowell McAdam, the range of one of these 5G cell antennas is 2,000 feet, and there's no reason for cell antennas to be any closer than 4,000 feet apart. Thank you.
Thank you. Our next speaker is Ernest Sewell. Ernest Sewell.
Thank you. I have roughly 40-some-odd years in radio communications. It ranges from radio, television, paging, early days of mobile telephone, and some of the current cellular technicians. I have installed it, I've maintained it, I've engineered some of it. I would like, when the vendors show up, they bring adequate information as far as pictures of what they initially plan on installing, what it's going to look like after it has grown, and technical information so people like myself can sit down and make an educated decision about whether we want it or don't want it. I was recently in Atlanta on vacation, driving down Peachtree Street. They were installing something that appeared to be 5G. Didn't stop, didn't ask anybody, but I can tell you as a homeowner here in Elk Grove, I don't want that mess hanging on my light pole because I have a light pole 30 feet from my front window and a fiber optic box right next to it. So I would like a little say in this, or to be able to speak with you at a later date. Thank you.
Okay, excellent. Seeing that there are no additional members of the public signed up to speak, I want to close public comment. Council deliberation and direction. I have a suggestion. Can we pull 8.14 for a quick discussion? I have a second. But would Member Hume, would you revise your motion?
I'll amend my motion to remove 8.14 from consent and
right.
move
Okay.
the remainder.
And we have a second?
Second.
Okay, got a motion second. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Aye. Okay, 8.14. I hear what, Mr. Graham, what you're saying, and I'm fine with leading in that direction, but I'd like to ask staff, are we under any sort of time constraint if we were to push it to January?
No, there's no express time constraint. We do have members of the telecommunications industry who are interested in moving this forward. The November 28th date is a date that would otherwise be a council meeting, so Wednesday, but for the usual break that we take from that, that's one of the reasons that we selected. But other than that, no, there's not. I can tell you if this gives the council any kind of assurance, staff will definitely not be checked out for this. We'll be focused on the issues and can be prepared to present the information to the council and welcome any feedback from the council and the community on this.
Okay. That be the case,
Well,
Vice Mayor?
I mean, you know, as I'm considering this too, I mean, I'm sure we'll all be present, but, you know, it's 6 one way, half dozen to the other, I think, if we, you know, if we push it out in terms of attendance, I think. But I also don't see any harm waiting to January if we're not under, you know, much constraint. I guess I would ask to see if Christopher, Mr. Jordan, is there any issue with the general plan update and any workshops we're going to have about that? I think a transportation one coming up.
We'll have, I think what you're referring to on the transportation is how that ties in with the biannual retreat. We're prepping an item to bring back to you at a future council meeting to set that date.
Okay.
And scope what some of the key topics would be in that discussion. So we don't have that date set yet and can certainly work around any date changes.
Okay. So if we did it in January, it doesn't seem like it would be a big deal. I mean, in terms of a schedule or anything.
Okay.
Does anybody have any?
Yeah, rest of the members?
I actually
Yes.
would like to do it before the holidays, and I feel like it's a regular scheduled meeting date. We'd be here already. Most folks that attend our council meeting would know and be here. But,
Okay.
I mean, I just think we push it down, there's something else that may come up. And not only that, when we schedule it on a certain day, we're not all available when it comes to January. It may not, unless we schedule it further out, that's fine too. But we're all available that day already. We'll all be there, it looks like. We just got to work hard in getting our community to be there. But if the direction of the entire council wants to change it, I'm okay too. But
Well, like I said, I mean, it's 6 one, half dozen the other, so I'm okay if we keep it too. I just wanted to bring it up for discussion.
I was going to say, that also, this is the challenge, is finding a date that works for everybody. I think we
Mm-hmm.
felt like the stars aligned on this one because that was a date that the council normally meets. So the council members were available, all the other interested parties were available in January. We do have looking at a council retreat. There may be other things that come up. Certainly we can do at the council's discretion, but it's not atypical to hold community workshops or other things. And we typically don't take a couple months off waiting for the holidays.
I think my biggest thing is, you know, Mr. Graham has been very passionate about this, and he does, you know, bring up good points, kind of right between the holidays. There really is never, ever a good time, right, to deal with these types of topic that, you know, is not as exciting as what we expect. But I think it's important enough that we want to give folks enough notice to be inclusive in the discussion. I would ask consideration for a little bit later.
So I kind of side on the 6 1/2 dozen the other side, but, you know, the flip side of it is, you know, maybe people will be in town because it's Thanksgiving. I agree that there's never a good time to do this, and I think that certainly Mr. Graham and his group are passionate enough. They're going to rally the people that want to come out and be interested in this. I think it's incumbent upon us and other interested agencies to rally the folks that want to learn and have a vested interest. So I'd rather be more informed sooner on this issue than later, personally.
Yeah, I'm fine with that then. I'll move the item.
Okay. Got a motion, a second?
Second.
Yep, and let's, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Oppose, abstention? All right, next item.
We have no items under Section 9, which would be the public comment, or public hearings, and that will take us to Section 10, our regular agenda action items and recommendations, starting with item 10.1, which is to receive information and consider a resolution approving a recruiting incentive program for lateral police officers and lateral dispatchers.
Good evening, Mayor and council members. Jackie Langenberg, Human Resource Manager. And I'm going to talk to you guys a little bit tonight about the difficulties we're having. Am I too close to that? Sounds really loud. The difficulties that we're having in recruiting and retaining some of our lateral police officers. So, and it's listed pretty well in the staff report resolution. One thing I wanted to go over was share a little bit of the information with the public and with you. And that is that there is a declining interest, or we're having a pretty big decline in lateral police officers and dispatchers applying for positions. There's a couple different reasons, and we'll go over that a little bit. But out of our 146 authorized sworn positions, 115 of those are specific police officers. We currently have 7 vacancies, and we have 4 anticipated retirements coming up. This morning, I met with another officer who was leaving, and he also mentioned that he was offered an incentive program, or an incentive, excuse me, to go to Oceanside of $5,000. So that was just another one that kind of hit us, and I didn't even realize he had the incentive. We've also got 19 authorized dispatcher positions, and we have 3 current vacancies. Our recent succession plan that we went through is showing a pretty good-sized gap between seasoned officers and new officers, because we've got such a large amount of retirees in the last couple of years, and we're now bringing on more new officers.
Jackie, just before you move on, the example you used about Oceanside, I got to believe it was more than $5,000, right? That there's other reasons.
Yeah, he's been wanting to head down south. He wasn't, he just said that it really helped him make his decision, was to get the $5,000 bonus. He's a young officer. He was with us for 2 years. It's just hard to lose him for, you know, they have that extra little incentive at the end of it, so.
Okay,
Anyway.
thanks.
So yeah, that wasn't the only reason. It was interesting. It came up this morning that he shared that with me. Anyway, so we did some research, and of our research, one thing that's not correct on this, and I apologize, is the $6,000 to $25,000 signing bonuses for other agencies. It's actually $5,000 to $25,000 is what we were finding. We did quite a few agencies, and in those agencies, 3 of the ones that were in our recruiting area, Modesto, Stockton, and Fairfield. Stockton does a $6,000 signing bonus right now. Modesto does a $15,000 signing bonus, and Fairfield does a $10,000 signing bonus for lateral officers. And lateral officers are defined as having 1 year of experience in a California law enforcement agency and a post-certified basic peace officer certificate. What we started looking into as well was we wanted to find out what are their issues and what are their concerns? Why are they not applying? Why did we have such a drop? We dropped about 40% in our applicant pool. So we found that our CalPERS tiers is one of the issues. They, currently, most of your lateral folks will have a 3% at 50. If they come here, it goes 3% at 55. And the same thing with dispatchers. They also come into our second tier, so your 2.7 at 50, at 55, excuse me, would also drop to our tier 2. Loss of seniority is an issue for police officers and dispatchers, and loss of leave balances. Those were the main issues that we found people had with transitioning to a new agency. So what I've got here, and I've kind of put it out, is a proposed incentive program. We are looking at offering a signing bonus of $7,500, somewhere up the middle. I do have agencies that were doing up to $25,000, $15,000, so the majority was in and around the $10,000 mark. So we looked at going a little bit lower, offering $2,500 upon completion of field training for our laterals, $5,000 once they complete their probation, and then loading them with 40 hours of annual leave once we hire them, so they've got some kind of leave on the books, and offering leave accrual based on their confirmed years of service as an officer. And then we decided we'd look at offering some kind of incentive to our current employees who can refer folks. So we're looking at a referral bonus of $1,000, and that employee would receive that once the applicant passes their probationary period. And a similar program for the dispatchers. We went a little bit lower. We, based on their salary, the differences in their salary, we looked at that, and finding that quite a few other agencies were going lower with that bonus, or incentive, sorry. So we're looking at $5,000, same scenario with $2,500 being offered at the initial, once they complete the initial training program, and $2,500 once they pass probation. Again, the 40 hours, and it's exactly the same as the other, with having some type of referral bonus. We have found that referrals work really, really well. Higher opportunity for folks to stay. The laterals also take quite a bit less time to train. And we've got some stats, I know Chief's got some stats on our lateral officers, and not just training them, but keeping them, their longevity. So if you guys have any questions for me, I know there's a couple different options out there that you can look at. We can accept this as a whole. We can break this up a little bit.
Questions?
I have a question.
Go ahead.
Sorry. Is there a criteria that states how long they must stay with, or is that not allowed to say that they must stay with the department? Because if they're getting this incentive, can they move around again after 2 or 3 years?
We didn't put anything in there, but that's definitely something we can look into.
I think that's a great idea. I think that's something important. We're giving them an incentive. We want them to stay. And I think, why couldn't it certainly build into contract? Mr. City Attorney, if you can chime in on this.
So the way it's set up right now is it's paid upon completion of field training, and you get a second payment upon completion of probation. Now, if you wanted to, you could put milestones in there for certain years of service. But what you can't do is claw it back after you've made the payment. So if you want to make it as more of a sort of a carrot than a stick, I suppose you could do that. We need a little direction from council on what you're looking for. But once they meet a certain milestone, they get the payment. They've made another milestone, they get the payment. Move on and on and on. So if, for instance, just for sake of discussion, you wanted to make a payment at 5 years, you'd have to build that into the program now and make that payment at 5 years. But the way that's proposed right now is fairly simplistic, and I think if I'm understanding staff correctly, it's somewhat similar to the other programs out there to enhance recruitment, to say first payment at field training, second payment at the end of probation. And I'll have to, I believe it's how long is the probation? I'm sorry, I should ask the chief.
It's about 12 months, sometimes 18 months, but with the lateral, it's 12 months.
I knew PD was a little different than the rest of the employees. That's why I deferred to the chief. So you're looking at a 12 to 18-month period.
So I just asked the question because I know every jurisdiction, every department is dealing with this as well too, is that many are retiring out, but everybody's looking for those with the most amount of experience. And I wouldn't know if a police officer would take this, stay for 2 years and go to another city because they would offer them another incentive as well too, especially since all the cities are looking to bring in experienced officers into their cities. And they may offer that. I just don't know. I don't know if in the law enforcement world, do they leave that quick after 2 or 3 years? Certainly, I know dispatchers is one that is always looking to hire as well too, and that's not just for, it's also for the fire department as well too, and so that could have an incentive after you've done your 2 years and you've taken on this incentive. You can move on to a different department and take another incentive. So then we'd just be running through this incentive program really quick.
Well, I guess the balance to that is if they were to jump around, they'll lose their seniority, right? So we're back to graveyard shift.
I don't know if
Right? I mean,
that's
would
a
that
fact, but I
be
would
something
think
that would
so.
discourage in just the inherent structure?
That's pretty accurate. I mean, you know, one of the issues, and I appreciate the ability to weigh in here. Thank you. One of the issues with laterals is that whole, you know, that going back to the beginning, you know, losing your seniority, perhaps going back to graveyard, which is where I think we would be, frankly, and this is anecdotal. We don't see officers come in and leave in a couple of years, notwithstanding the one that Ms. Langenberg mentioned earlier. With respect to that particular officer, he's got family. He came from that San Diego area, and he's just decided he wants to go back. That's the first I'd heard that he was offered a signing bonus. I honestly, I don't know that signing bonus pushed him over the edge. I think it's, you know, the attraction of going back to where his family is what drew him back. But we don't typically see, notwithstanding this particular officer, someone come in and leave in a couple of years' time. Some of that I'd like to think is because this is a great place to work. It's a good city to work in. We have excellent salary and benefits. We're very competitive in that way. This lateral market has just become increasingly competitive, and we are seeing some of our competition, if you will, in the way of other agencies offering bonuses. I've seen this trend. It's been cyclical over the years. There have been time periods where lateral incentives were offered and then not so much, and typically it's just when the market gets really tight and there are a lot of positions and not enough qualified candidates to fill them. That's when you see these incentives kick off again. What we're trying to do here is take a balanced approach to our hiring. We've got, as you know, we've got recruits in the academy now. We're actually looking to increase that next year to maybe as many as 6. So some of the new officers that you met tonight came with varying levels of experience. And we find that balanced approach is the way we need to grow. If we continue to just bring in officers that have 0 experience, then as an organization, that's going to be tough to withstand. With respect to whether an officer might leave in a couple of years and just go grab bonuses at various agencies, I suppose that's possible. I will say that's not been my experience. I've not seen that occur over the years, for what that's worth.
Okay. And the cap is at 70,000
Well, we have a cap at 70,000 for the year. Mhm.
for the year. Okay. All right. Councilman Hume?
Yeah, I appreciate the insight there, Chief. In the new hire introduction you just did, I didn't count them while they were standing there, but I think it was about 5 new hires. Is that right? And you had 1 lateral dispatcher and 1 lateral police officer. So is that
That's right.
lower than where you'd like to be? You'd like to have it blended a little more than that?
Yes, yes. In fact, if you don't mind, I do have some statistics from the last few years, and this is just our hiring, the total number of police officers, and then we've got separated out the number of laterals that we hired versus the number of new hires. So I'll go back to 2016. We hired 17 police officers that year. 10 of those were laterals. 7 were entry-level or trainees. In 2017, we hired 11. 6 of those were laterals, with 5 falling into the other category. Thus far in 2018, we've hired 11, and only 2 are laterals. And then the other 9 obviously fall into the other categories. And again, that's a 3 years worth of data. But we are seeing, you know, the number of lateral applications decrease for some of the reasons that the HR manager mentioned earlier, which, and not the least of which is our PERS situation. You know, we have, and I don't like to talk about this too much because quite frankly, people don't like to hear about our retirement a whole heck of a lot. But the reality is that a classic member, a classic peace officer member in CalPERS, such as myself, would have a 3 at 50 retirement. Well, when the Pepper reform happened a few years ago, that's not offered any longer. However, depending on your contract with PERS, a city can continue to offer a classic member. Say if I were to lateral somewhere else, I'm a classic member because I enjoy that 3 at 50. If I were to go to another agency and their contract with PERS allowed them to offer me a 3% at 50, then I could transfer into that. However, our contract does not allow that, and my understanding is those contracts are irrevocable, irreversible. So where we find ourselves now is the best that we can offer a classic member is 3% at 55, albeit still a great retirement. It's not 3 at 50. And so what we've found is that is limiting the number of lateral officers who are wanting to essentially leave that one retirement system for another. Our hope is that maybe a little bit of a financial incentive might nudge somebody in the direction of considering it. That's just one factor, but I just wanted to speak to it a little bit because it was mentioned in the PowerPoint earlier.
And that's a contract between the city and CalPERS?
That's my understanding. Is that correct?
Yeah, and it's not only a contract, I mean, it is our contract, but we had already created a second tier. And when Pepper came up, they said your second tier will be what you can offer to classic members. So we had already created that second tier. You can't go back and change it now that Pepper's come out.
But eventually, won't we hit an equilibrium in that, wherein everybody will be more or less under the same? There will be no, I mean, no offense, but there will be no more classic members?
Yeah, I think the gray-haired members like myself will eventually attrit out. You're exactly right. I think we're on the cusp of starting to see that shift. The Pepper reform happened in roughly 2014-ish. I'm not exactly sure the year, but I think you're exactly right, Mr. Hume. I think in time, what we'll see is we'll start to see lateral officers interested in joining our department who came in after that post-Pepper reform.
Mm-hmm.
So they may have been hired even at 2.7 at 57. And so then we're able to make an offering that's at least consistent with what they currently enjoy.
Great. And then you mentioned kind of the quote-unquote competition that's starting to implement these programs. Are there examples of that locally? Are we competing with other agencies within the region who are offering incentives?
As far as incentives go, I think the closest was, I know Jackie mentioned Stockton.
Stockton, Modesto, and Fairfield.
Yeah, those are probably the closest. Within Sacramento County, I don't know that any of the agencies, and that would be, Sacramento, Sac Sheriff, Citrus Heights, Folsom, Roseville, I don't know that any of them are offering incentives. They weren't mentioned in the staff report, so I'm not certain.
They didn't answer when we put out the request. I do know on the listserv, the HR listservs that are out there where we're all talking, there's a lot of conversation about it because people are competing for those folks. So I think they're anticipating, if not already doing it.
Okay. Thank you.
Okay. Any other questions? No? This is from general fund?
Sorry, what was that?
This is from general fund?
Yes.
Okay. All right. Thank you.
Thank you.
All right, I want to open for public comment. I see Randy Becker has signed up, so come on down, Mr. Becker.
Mayor, Vice Mayor, Council. This conversation seems to be a continuous one of 2 weeks ago in some form. I don't know if the 70,000 is enough. As far as I'm concerned, it's not. We're going fishing. That's what we're doing. We're taking $70,000 of bait money and we're going fishing. I don't know if that's enough money. The numbers say we're below of where we need to be. We shouldn't be like the rest of the cities. If we want to be better than that, we need to spend a little more money on the bait, and we need to offer more money to the individuals that's going to serve us. What is the price? What are we looking for? What are we trying to get? If we want to just talk around circles and figure it out, at some point in time, our neighbors are going to be part of the bait program. They are going to be the ones out there, and we're still going to be talking about it. I don't think that we should be talking about it. I think we ought to move forward and move the money up more than 70,000. Along with that, As far as the dispatchers go, I think we do them a disservice when we say, well, the other cities are offering them about the same. Once again, do you want an A-class employee, or do you want a B-class employee like some of the rest of the cities? What are we trying to get in here? I want people that want to service and want to be here. And part of that is we're gonna have to offer them money. It's no more different than college going after a football team. They offer incentives, money. We need to pony up. And if it costs us a little more, we can go back to the meeting 2 weeks ago. And we're gonna have, as I said 2 weeks ago, we're gonna have tough conversations in January, February, March. And you all better get on board. Because if not, you're gonna get rolled over. And all I'm saying is I don't know if 70,000 is enough. And I think we need to move it to 100, and we need to offer a little more. We need more people with experience that's gonna wanna come here to work for us and like working here and like living here. Otherwise, the other cities around us are gonna beat you to the punch. And we're gonna be talking about this in a month, 2 months, 6 months. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Becker. Seeing that there are no additional members of the public to sign up to speak, want to close the public comment, council deliberation and direction. I have a quick question. Jackie, how did the 70,000, how do we pick 70,000? Is there any rationale or reasoning behind that?
We looked at being middle of the year, and we're talking the end of the fiscal year, so we were looking at that number and saying it's probably not all going to be used because people have to pass their probation. It would start with folks that are being offered positions after tomorrow or after it was approved, so.
So if this works, we can continue this on to next year?
Well, that would be what my hopes would be, as chief and the city manager could then evaluate the program and see if it's still needed and if it's effective.
Okay, so it could increase next year?
Correct.
You saw it work. Okay, Vice Mayor.
Yeah, thank you. You know, I think, as the chief said earlier, it's cyclical. I mean, this is where the market is right now for this profession. I know we're in dire need, I think, of more officers. But I also believe we got a good product in terms of our work environment, this city, the residents that support law enforcement, this leadership on the council and as well as in upper management are big supporters of our law enforcement community. And so I think I am supportive of what's proposed, and I just don't think we need to go higher right now. I think we have a good product, and if we need to, allocate more, we can come back. But I do think we have a good product, but I also recognize what was stated earlier about the PERS. That's a real impediment, I think, having that. And it's unfortunate that PEPRA put jurisdictions at odd. I wouldn't argue the merits of it either way. I'm just saying that you've got jurisdictions that can get better retirement than another. So that obviously factors in. But I think this is a good approach to try out for now, and let's see how this fares out. So.
Okay, go ahead, Councilman Hume.
Yeah, thank you, Mayor. I'm torn on this one for a lot of the reasons that were just mentioned. I'm familiar with Oceanside, and I tell you what, I know what those police officers have to put up with, and basically it's rowdy Marines and meth heads. And so I don't know that $5,000 was moved the needle on that. No offense to our new captain, but $6,000 wouldn't get me to be a PD officer in Stockton either. So you're talking about enticing people to come to a place where maybe they don't have a good department, maybe the community and the council and whomever else isn't behind their department. Maybe it's just not a good place to live. I think we do have a good product. I think we have a good department. I think we have a great community. I think we have a lot of selling points. But at the same time, I recognize that if you're telling me you want a more experienced group of new hires and you don't want a department that's made up of all greenhorns, I can respect that. But I would kind of caution this idea that we're going to dip our foot in this pool and then be able to get back out and towel off later. I think once we go down this road, and as was mentioned, our neighbors decide they're going to start being competitive and they're going to offer incentives, then I think it's going to turn into a leapfrog. And you're going to see where different departments start offering more, and so you got to offer more, and well, what have you done for me lately? So I think you need to be cautious when you start kind of putting extra things on the table. I think police officers, they have a very dangerous job. I respect everything that they do, but they get a pretty good paycheck at the end of the day, and pretty good retirement too. And you know, so you're starting to put extra icing on the cake. I just don't. I don't know that that's a good use of our funds. I'd rather figure out what other enticements we could put on there. Whether now, let me say all the things that were mentioned, the sort of the soft costs. I'm on board with that. Give them leave straight out of the way. Let them start accruing. Maybe let some of their seniority transfer over. Could we do that? Is that a permissible thing, that they wouldn't have to go back to low man on the totem pole because they do have the experience, which we determined is valuable?
We could certainly consider doing that, and we may well be able to do it. I think there might be some challenges with the bargaining unit that we would need to work
I
out.
see Jackie making a face over that, so maybe that's not such a good idea.
Sorry about that. I was just thinking of the sensitivity of the folks that are seniored here. So they've been here for 10 years, and we hire somebody that's 11, and now they're getting seniority,
Right.
you know,
That
over
wouldn't be right.
our own staff. So I guess that was my face. I apologize for that. I was thinking
No, that's why I
probably-
ask questions, is because I want to know the answers, and
I was probably
the answers
thinking
don't always have to agree, for
no
sure.
way. Right.
Okay. All right, well, yeah, I mean, I just say use them.
Councilman Heem, if I could just add, I totally get your point. Only thing is, we're not the first ones to do this. Like, these other cities apparently have been doing it. So it's almost like if we don't, we're losing. I think this is what staff is trying to tell us, that they feel like this is needed because these other cities, if you look at Fairfield, 10,000, Modesto, 15, Stockton, 6, they're already doing it. That's, you know what I mean, because to your point.
Yeah, but maybe because they have to your point. They
Right.
don't have the same product.
Well, I don't know. I don't live in those areas.
So,
Councilman Nguyen?
Maybe this question is for the chief. Are we getting laterals applying here?
In declining numbers.
That's an accurate statement. We are getting them, but the numbers are declining. There are far less lateral applications coming in now, which is that's why you see the resultant number of only having 2 that we've hired this year. That's completely reflective of the total number of applications. It's not so much a matter of we get a lot of lateral applications and then we end up, washing people out in the hiring process. That's really not been our experience. It's the number of these number of hires are reflective of the number of applications, and they've gone down.
So we got to give them something to entice them to come here, right? Obviously, if they're coming from the county has so many different specialty units, so many departments. I mean, you can work on the helicopter, you can work on the water, you can work in the courts, and for the city, when you're a small city, you don't have those types of options. And so I think the incentive is a really good opportunity to entice folks with experience to come here. And the chief is correct. I mean, we want to build continuity, but we want to make sure that our city has officers that have the experience as well, too. We don't want a city where we have a bunch of new officers. You got to give them something to entice them to get here.
I think it's a good starting point. I hear what you're saying, Councilmember Hume. Very valid, right? I mean, when there's a stop, but the way I see it, this is at least keeping up with the Jones so that we're on an equal playing field. I mean, Elk Grove is a great community. Who wouldn't want to come here? But if you have any sort of discrepancies between this and another city that may be comparable who's offering the same thing, I wouldn't want us to win over. So, I would support this. This is easy. Yeah, and I would also keep it open as to revisiting this and see whether it's working. If it's not enough, then let's talk about it for next year's budget.
So I'm willing to go on, to get on board with it. I'm just doing so eyes wide open that this is now the new normal. We're now offering police officers a signing bonus.
I think what was said is that all the other jurisdictions are looking into, or all the departments in the cities are looking to do something similar to this. I know the Sacramento Police Department gave bonuses all across the board to their officers just because. I just think we need to give something to entice those to get here.
And again, though, I look at that as that's a move of desperation. They needed to keep their officers from transferring to a
Right.
department like Elk
Yep,
Grove.
you're right. I mean, we have a community here that really love our police department. It's not the same in other cities.
I'm reading this, and, you know, both, in the staff report, both El Segundo PD and Palo Alto PD are offering incentives of $25,000. And, I mean, I also take into account that what the chief was mentioning about this being a cyclical thing. So, I mean, I think if the market changes, you know, we'll start to see whether or not we need to keep doing it to entice people. What do you think, Chief?
Yeah, I will say, and to Mr. Hube's point, with respect to the slippery slope idea, I really have seen, truthfully seen this cycle play out a couple of different times during my career, maybe 3. And as, you know, if and when we reach a period where we don't deem that we need to offer this incentive any longer, my contention would be that we won't. And I think we'll see that time. These cycles do play out that way. Right now, if you read the back pages of a trade magazine, PORAC, you'll see ad after ad after ad. We just talked about a few tonight. It's much more common than what we've discussed here this evening to see these incentive bonuses. But likewise, in other times, I've seen the back pages of that magazine not have any incentive bonuses. And so I really do believe it's cyclical, but I'm absolutely hearing and respecting your point as well, Mr. Hume. I think we have to go into this with our eyes wide open and be a little bit careful about how we do it. I do, for what it's worth. I agree with all your points, too, about how what a great place this is to work. I tell everybody that we bring in the door, even before they're hired, I tell them, look, don't take my word for it. I'm biased, granted. I'm always going to be, but kick the tires and check it out and go out into the community and you see for yourself. And once they're here, so I see this lateral incentive honestly as an enticement to get them in the door. And then once they're here and they see what the working conditions are like and what it's like to work in this city with these residents, then they're hooked.
Well, and your comment about you've seen this in your career, that this isn't new and it does stop. So it gives me hope that, you know, the slippery slope, so to speak, is limited. And then the fact that because we're offering this, I know, Chief, you do a good job, but I'm going to reiterate this. If we're doing this, then we continue to demand even more so the highest expectations of the folks that come in. So, I mean, that's the whole point of the incentive. If we're gonna get somebody to come in, but it's going to be, they've got to definitely meet all our hurdles, which, you know, I know are high.
Well, I hear and respect that, Mr. Soon, and I'll tell you, that bar is not going to move whether we do a lateral incentive or not. I can tell you that. The hiring standards are what they are.
Yeah.
I think this will help bring some candidates in the door, but just please know that the threshold for getting into the organization is not going to change, irrespective of what we decide to do here tonight.
All right, thank you.
And Chief, I want to highlight that too. We have had conversations about recruits coming in, and you've always been true to that, and I've seen nothing less than that. So, you know, I mean, commendable to your standards and what your expectation is of the officers that come in. So, as far as I'm concerned, it's been exceptional and above and beyond. So, thank you. Anything else? Good. Okay. Entertain a motion.
I'll move the motion to adopt the resolution improving the recruiting incentive program.
Got a motion? Do we have a
Second.
second? Got a second? All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Abstention? Next item.
Take us on to item 10.2, which is to receive the Elk Grove Tourism Marketing District Annual Report for fiscal year 2017-18.
Good evening, Mayor, Vice Mayor, members of the council. My name is Rachel Brown. I'm the Economic Development Manager here at the city. I'm introducing this item before JT comes up to make the remainder of the presentation, and that's for the Elk Grove Tourism and Marketing District. My current role in the operation is I'm the city's representative on the board of directors, and I'm currently the board chair for the organization. I've been involved in the organization for about 2.5 years, And as a side note, you may have heard Explore Elk Grove lately, and so the official name of the organization is Visit Elk Grove. However, the marketing name has become Explore Elk Grove. So throughout my remarks and then JT's presentation, the two names refer to the same organization. So before I hand it over to JT, I just want to give a quick background on the organization itself. In February 2015, the council adopted a resolution to establish the district to fund marketing and sales promotion efforts for the Elk Grove lodging businesses. Later that year, in December, the council approved an MOU between the city and Visit Elk Grove, which established Visit Elk Grove as the contracted nonprofit entity responsible for administrating the funds. Initially, the city led the efforts to form and run this organization, and as I mentioned, I've been involved in the organization for about 2.5 years. Earlier this year, we hired JT Thompson, who is an Elk Grove resident and tourism industry professional that brings a variety of experience and strategic partnerships to the organization. While he's been on board, he's been busy building the new website and launching the new brand, as well as establishing the organization with a solid foundation for growth. We also have here tonight one of the other board members, Kimberly Albright. She is representing Hilton Garden Inn, and she has been one of the board members active since we started the program. So I really commend her. She's been very actively participating in the board. She's currently our secretary for the board. And with that said, I'd like to turn it over now to JT to make a presentation, and we will have a couple videos during his presentation too.
Welcome, JT.
Welcome. Thank you.
Hi, JT.
How are you tonight?
Without the wig tonight, huh?
Yeah, I was going to wear
Strauss
it,
Festival.
but I didn't think Councilmember Hume was going to wear his. Where's the, here we go. Well, it's, last time I was here, I think I was on a job for about 3 weeks. So in the last 6 months, there's been a lot going on, building a brand. And building a brand in tourism is about what's going to draw people to a destination. We, as has been said many times tonight since I've been here, we have a great destination. We have a great city. We have great people. We have a very diverse community. And we have a very active community that likes to do things, likes to go out. So what I've tried to focus our branding on is exploring, because we have a lot of outdoor activities. As you'll see a little bit more in my presentation, as you know, people love to be outdoors. So we rebranded Visit Elk Grove to Explore Elk Grove, kind of giving it a little bit of a better name, as well as not copying everybody else within pretty much the entire state of California. It's, you know, Visit California, Visit Sacramento, Visit Yolo, Visit Stockton. I could go on. You get my point. But I wanted to talk about what I've been doing the last 6 months and why I've been doing it and how we're doing it. So thank you again for allowing us to talk here. Rachel went through a lot of this. We have 6 hotel partners. It was formed in 2015. But one of the things I wanted to point out here is our hotels, the 6 hotels that we have in our region in our competitive set, which our competitive set is Lodi, Sacramento, Vacaville, Rancho Cordova, all their select service properties, which we have our hotels are all select service properties. We have the highest occupancy, the highest average daily rate, or ADR, and the highest RevPAR, which is revenue per available room, which is how the hotel companies track their business and see what their trends are and all of that. So RevPAR is very important to them. We not only beat them, but our closest on occupancy is Lodi. We ran August to August with 79.7% occupancy. Our closest to that was Lodi at 76%. In ADR and RevPAR, we're over $20 per night more than our competition, which is phenomenal. So it's for a tourism executive that needs to fill rooms, finding the availability is the problem, not just that. So what we've done is, and I'll go through this in the presentation, but we need to develop local and regional partnerships. We have, obviously, the city of Elk Grove, but we also partner with Visit Stockton, Lodi, the Consumnes CSD, Community Service District, for the parks and for usage of that. The Elk Grove Chamber for networking and getting our name out there and our brand out there to our businesses. Visit Sacramento and as well as Visit California. Our stakeholders, or my boss, are the 6 hotels that we mentioned earlier, the city of Elk Grove, and also the residents of Elk Grove. This is their city. Tourists want to do what locals do. They want to know what's going on in the place that they're going to visit. Whenever you visit somewhere, you want to know, what's going on? What can I do tonight? It's the locals that will dictate where they're going because the locals are there. They don't want to go, if you're traveling, you don't want to go to an empty restaurant. You want to go where everybody else is going. What's the hottest place? So that's our job, is to inform them. But using the residents of Elk Grove as our stakeholders, they're our tourism ambassadors. The majority of people that live in Elk Grove love Elk Grove. And on social media, we get a few comments that, what's there to do in Elk Grove? And I've heard many times in the last 6 months that I've been doing this job, why does Elk Grove need a tourism bureau? Well, what's there to do here? Well, that's why we want to help educate everybody in Elk Grove on Explore Elk Grove. Get them out into the community and get them involved with our organization as well. I also want to go over what our mission is. Our mission statement states, we were founded in 2015. Our mission is to increase overnight stays in Elk Grove through destination development and brand management. It's our job to promote Elk Grove to the outside world. We do have a vision. We're located in the heart of California, nestled between wine country and the iconic waterways of the California Delta. We're a savvy city with a small town feel, diverse, personable, and never too busy for the finer things in life. Explore, uncover, and enjoy. We also have a promise. We want to give everybody a promise that we're actually doing something. We join the interests of the city and the county government, trade and civic associations and travel suppliers to build visitor traffic to the area. The Bureau also acts as a liaison between potential visitors and the businesses that host them. Our marketing goal is to generate visitor-related economic impact and establish a positive destination image and visitor experience that will deliver long-term continued growth for the city of Elk Grove. Our objectives are to create and increase brand awareness, which is why we've launched the Explore Elk Grove brand. Increase overnight visitation and extend length of stay. When you have hotels that are running up near 80% occupancy, again, it's hard to find availability. So the nights that are open are typically Thursday nights and Sunday nights. So we want to either get them here earlier, give them a reason to come earlier, or extend their stay later. We position exploreelkgrove.com as a primary resource for trip planning. I hope you've all visited exploreelkgrove.com and checked it out. And, we're targeting sports and business travelers while beginning to work on the leisure market. And we communicate the many events and diverse experiences that we had and that are unique to Elk Grove. Our brand values. This gets into the branding portion of it. Our brand values communicate what we believe in and what we stand for. It's the lens that visitors see us through, the attitude they interact with, and the basis for their experiences. Pride. We take pride in our community and its people. We're excited to share what we have to offer with the world. We're opportunistic. We see opportunity everywhere and embrace the change to grow ourselves and our visitors' experiences. And we're accepting. We're accepting of our visitors and the value of them and value the members of our community whose passion fuels our overall experience. Our brand voice. We like to be energetic, passionate, and welcoming. And I'll give you a little sample. Will the audio play? There we go. This is one of the 15 or so radio spots that we've done leading up to events in Elk Grove. So we're trying to draw people in the region to come to Elk Grove and experience Elk Grove firsthand. Because when people do come here, they love it. They say, wow, I never really knew all this stuff to do in Elk Grove. So this is one of the radio spots that we did.
Sometimes you just gotta get away.
Mom, there's something sticky in the inside of my backpack.
But if you're busy like me, getting away isn't so easy. So I went to exploreelkgrove.com to check out upcoming events, like the Elk Grove Giant Pumpkin Festival, October 6th and 7th. I picked a weekend, booked a great hotel, and found some restaurants and breweries I want to check out. It'll be great not taking care of anyone for 2 days.
Honey, I think something's burning.
Exploreelkgrove.com. Wonderfully unexpected.
It's great. It's catchy. It's, people listen to it. They're like, wow, what is that? It's not something that they typically hear in a radio ad. So we were very pleased with that.
Sometimes you just got...
Our brand pillars. When you're marketing a destination, you need your branding pillars. Our brand pillars are the diverse community. Our community is built on diversity. It's what drives our unique experiences and unites us as a city. We're down to earth. We're a savvy city with a small town feel. As I said before, we're approachable, personable, and never too busy for the finer things in life. A healthy lifestyle with over 90 parks, miles of wildlife trails, and state-of-the-art sporting facilities. We're all about being healthy and active. We have unique events, exciting events, seemingly every day of the year. There's always a celebration to join in Elk Grove. And then rooted in heritage, we're a city building towards the future, but never losing sight of the past that shaped us. And our proximity, it's about location. Our location in the state of California, which is one of the largest tourist destinations in the entire world compared to other countries, our location within the state of California lends us to start hub and spoke tours, winery tours. People come to California to drink wine. They drink wine and they eat and shop. We have everything for them, but we're only, within an hour drive, we have over 150 to 200 wineries that people can go and experience, and some of them are really good. Now I'm going to show you one of our destination videos. I don't think, is this?
We can see if it works in the presentation, Mr. Thompson. If it doesn't, I can take over driving and move us to another option.
This is our destination video. It's not playing. No.
And I think what we have is an option, if I can take over driving from here.
Sure,
and
please do.
Let's see what we got. Does that look familiar?
That does.
Here we go.
There we go.
When you're here, you're a part of what we do. A part of us. A part of the celebration. A part of something unexpected. Wonderfully unexpected. A place where every detail is crafted and every experience memorable. We do it all with pride and passion, so you can taste the difference, hear the difference, and feel the difference, leaving you to just live in the moment. Stay a while and let us show you around. Uncover your next story and enjoy. Explore Elk Grove, California. Wonderfully unexpected. Visit us now at exploreelkgrove.com.
Like that? Yeah. It's pretty nice. It showcases our city very well. I was very proud of that. To launch that, we've gotten some great feedback and great response on that, and that's going around the world. Is there the other video, Jason? Can we show that one?
Certainly. Let me pull that one up. So.
Sorry.
It's good.
Was that there? Yep. We went into a sponsorship with Visit Sacramento and their Farm to Fork movement, and we sponsored, we were a sponsor of the Farm to Fork Festival on Capitol Mall. And one of the spots that we got was utilizing their social media as well as ours, and with their much broader reach than we have. I mean, Sacramento CVB has been in existence for over 100 years, so they have a much broader base than we do. But we developed this video for them, which played on the Jumbotron in between the bands that were playing, and it went all weekend. And it actually drew a lot of people to our booth as well. So.
Just 12 miles south of Sacramento, Elk Grove has a long farm-to-fork tradition. Once known for its dairy farms and hops fields, there aren't as many cows these days, but hops growing has made a comeback. Today, Elk Grove's breweries proudly use locally grown hops to create signature beers. Wine enthusiasts will discover 24 wineries in the Elk Grove area that produce award-winning wines. Just a couple miles west is the charming vineyard town of Clarksburg, home to more than 15 local wineries. A few miles south of Elk Grove is Lodi, the largest appellation in California with more than 85 wineries. If you love red wine, you've come to the right place. Elsewhere in Elk Grove, there are more than 1 million bees hard at work making honey that you'll find at retail stores and in locally made treats. And don't miss Elk Grove's 2 bustling farmers markets held every weekend, rain or shine, featuring the finest produce in the area. Elk Grove is also home to local restaurants serving farm-to-table cuisine from around the region. So take a quick drive south to Elk Grove and come see our commitment to farm to fork. Visit exploreelkgrove.com for great places and events.
So that's just another one of the videos that we've produced for events itself and for content. As a destination, we need content. We need to show the traveler what they're coming to see, what they want to visit. And so we think we've done a great job in developing the videos, and we're going to continue to develop those. But I also want to go into our target audiences and what we when we're developing the strategy, we go after different target markets. Our number one market is our business travelers or leisure focused, and that goes back to the wanting them to come in a day early or stay a day later for business and leisure, so it's called bleisure. We work with sports tourism, family sports tourism, family sports visitors, and youth sports, team sports. We're ideal for families looking for a mini vacation. Families are looking for accessibility and easy transportation between venues, aquatic center, fields, family-friendly restaurants and activities, especially the parents who might have a downtime to enjoy the local scene. We're also going after festival and event enthusiasts, which is a niche audience, but we're an ideal destination for festivals and events, offering a wide variety to pick and choose from. The audience is this type of audience is looking for unique experiences and different cultures, trying new food and beverages, playing games, purchasing souvenirs, and even learning something new. Attending festivals and events lets this audience escape, providing the ultimate getaway experience. Weddings and brides. Going after the wedding market, which the hotels are already seeing weddings, but I've also noticed that some of the weddings that are going into Clarksburg or going up into the Gold Country foothills are staying in Sacramento. We can market ourselves to that market and capture a lot of that because it's more economical. There's no parking fees, there's no traffic that they're beating to get either to Clarksburg or up into the foothills or even down into Lodi. So that's another market that we're going after. Another one is wine tourists. Again, as I was saying earlier, people love to drink wine when they travel. Some people only travel or just take vacations and wine tasting vacations. We're going to be going after that with the proximity that we have to the different wine regions in California. Some of the tactics that we have, and I'd like to take this second right now to introduce Kristen Berkery, who's been very instrumental in helping me get all this off the ground. But also one of the tactics that Kristen came up with was our street team. This is some of our street team that we have going out to events, talking to people about Elk Grove. They're all Elk Grove residents. Do you guys want to introduce yourselves real quick?
Okay.
Oh yeah. So I'm JJ, and I've lived in Elk Grove for 8 years till now. And I love Elk Grove, this environment, because it looks beautiful, and I always feel like it's so freaking relaxing here. It's hot.
I'm Kristen Berkery. I've lived here for 18 years, and I love it, and I've been looking for a way to be able to promote Elk Grove to the rest of the region.
Awesome. I'm Isaac Weaver. I lived in Elk Grove all my life.
I'm Chris Turner. I live in Elk Grove for 6 years now.
Hi, my name is Christina. I've been living in Elk Grove for almost 20 years.
My name is Selena Bay. I live in Elk Grove since 2000. It's 18 years.
And this is my support network. they go out there and it's guerrilla marketing. It's getting people out there, shaking hands, talking about Elk Grove, and a T-shirt, giving them something, a coupon for a brewery, a Frisbee, a hat, a T-shirt, and it's really worked. And some of the other tactics that that's one of the local marketing tactics that we have to make sure that that is a strategy that's working. We're leveraging peer-to-peer business relationships, and we continue to forge regional strategic partnerships. It's a great way to build brand awareness and expand our reach. People trust the businesses that they're loyal to, and forming partnerships with other regional destinations, regional sports organizations, and regional tourism attractions in Sacramento, Lodi, the Delta, Sierra Foothills allows us to expand our reach. We will only promote spending the night in an Elk Grove hotel, though. Social media. We continue to expand our presence on social media platforms like Facebook, Instagram, Twitter, and LinkedIn. These are valuable resources for connecting with people in a local community and in the meetings industry simultaneously. We're optimizing our search engine listings, or SEO. Access to different tools that Google offers allows us to get higher up onto those search engines. It allows us to keep our presence fresh on Google, and we have the ability to suggest changes in photos to our stats. So our presence is always authentic and up to date. And local SEO is a big friend of ours. We'll be building local SEO strategy as part of our overall local marketing, and it helps our brand stay visible online. It works to get our website ranking the first page of search engines. And for example, when people search for hotels and restaurants near me, a strong SEO will make sure that our website is seen first. Online advertising and digital. In addition to SEO, online advertising will get Elk Grove in front of more people faster. The targeting options for many platforms are robust, and we'll utilize them to our maximum capacity. We utilize a contracted digital marketing system to ensure we're a part of the local visitor and Elk Grove explorations by creating awareness, generating traffic, making a good impression, and engaging with visitors in the community. Our digital advertising objectives are to build our brand in the Elk Grove community as well as the Sacramento region. We drive impressions, traffic, and conversions among our target audiences. We reach people on mobile devices with location-based messaging, capture attention through targeted display advertising in key locations. And then our digital strategy, Facebook optimization, social ads, mobile, location-based marketing, and display geofencing. So when people go to an event, if they have their cell phone on, we grab their cell phone and then we serve them ads for Elk Grove for 30 days after that. It's kind of the creepy marketing part of it, but it works. And then continuous engagement with retargeting them, which I was just talking about. We're sponsoring local events. We're attending and sponsoring local events is another key part of our marketing plan. With the demographic of the local event attendee, exhibiting and distributing Explore Elk Grove swag at Legacy annual events in Elk Grove gets our brand message into the hands of locals and people that are coming to Elk Grove already. In turn, spreading the word, sharing their message with hashtags like Fun in Elk Grove. We're talking about that. The street team is out there talking about that, and we're also pushing that on social media to build that Fun in Elk Grove hashtag. We want to be unique. We're utilizing contests for locals as well as planners. Again, we want locals to be our tourism ambassadors. So the first 12 months of this plan, we're really focusing and concentrating for the consumer is the local. We want them to be sharing our message of Elk Grove around the world. We all know that we have an incredibly diverse population in Elk Grove. We want them excited about this place. We want them sharing it with all of their family wherever they are in the world, so they come and visit. Hopefully not stay in the houses, but come and stay in a hotel room. And then our follow-up strategy, a repeat customer is your best customer. They're the ones that want to come and stay with you as much as possible. So we want to give that traveler that's a repeat customer in the hotels a better knowledge of what there is to do in Elk Grove. So they're just not sitting in their hotel room or walking across the street to whatever's there. We want them out in the community. We want them spending their money. We want them spending their time here to know exactly how it is, and then in turn, share that with Fun in Elk Grove hashtag on social media, in turn giving us more play. And lastly, what's one old tourism principle that I was taught 30 years ago? It's community first, tourism second. Because after all, if you don't hang out in your own town, neither will your visitors. Wherever you go, they go. Thank you very much.
Excellent. Thank you.
Any questions?
Questions? Councilman Hume?
Not a question so much, but I just got to tell you, JT, that in 6 months that you've been on the job, the way you've elevated the brand of your organization, the way you've gotten out into the community and our special events and giving out those Frisbees or attending local functions such as the one we'd had over the weekend, it's just amazing to me what you've accomplished in 6 months that your predecessor didn't do in a year. And so I congratulate you. Keep up the good work, and I think you're on the right track with the hub and spoke idea, because I know that my wife and I, when we go to Napa or Yosemite or Tahoe or other places, we like to play a game where we listen to how many foreign languages are being spoken and think that people flew from halfway around the world to be somewhere we got up this morning and decided to go to.
Right.
And so to have that at your fingertips, I think is very attractive to folks who would maybe want to make a base camp.
Well,
So,
thank you.
Thank you.
And just to comment on that, I couldn't have done it alone, so I have great help. Kristen Berkery with Kristen Berkery Voiceover and Design, Ashley Newell, who is our Best of Elk Grove's Blogger of the Year, is helping with social media. Augustine helped us with the brand concept, and we're going to keep up the good work, so thank you very much. I appreciate that.
Vice Mayor.
Yeah, I also want to echo Councilman Hume's comments, and that's a great game. I'll start playing that game too. That's pretty good. But yeah, to Councilman Hume's point, I mean, we love seeing you out there. You know, we were at the Man's Ranch, enjoying some beer from the hops from that property, as you highlighted in the video. And you got a great team behind you, backing you, it seems like. So I also want to commend you for the progress that you've made in this short time. And we're going to look to try to give you more content in these videos.
Perfect. Thank you.
Member Nguyen.
Echo everything they both said. I do want to say I do see you everywhere. I mean, I have meetings at all the different coffee shops here in town, and I always see you in the morning getting a coffee. I have no idea how you have the energy to be everywhere. They're seeing you everywhere, and I'm seeing you everywhere. I love the videos. Thank you so much for sharing that. That really spoke a lot about our city here, and I love how in a short period of time you were able to capture all that. Thank you.
Well, thank you. And those videos are on our YouTube page, so you can share them out all you want.
Will do.
I just wanted to say, JT, you've been doing a good job. Just stop following us around. Just kidding. Thank you much.
Hey, thank you all the ambassadors out there.
Mr. Mayor.
Thanks to all the ambassadors out there too. Thank you, Kristen, for getting them going.
Thank you. Have a good night.
You too.
Okay, excellent. Thank you. At this point, I want to open public comment. Seeing that no members of the public signed up to speak, I want to close the public comment. Council deliberation and direction.
Receive and file.
Receive and
item, I believe.
file. All right, next item.
Take us on to item 10.3, which is receive the 2018 pavement condition report and information on the impact of state proposition 6.
Good evening. My name is Sean Gallagher, Mayor, Vice Mayor, Council members, and I'm here to present the 2018 pavement condition report and information on the impact of State Proposition 6, repealing SB 1 if approved. The city's street network is composed of roughly 1,125 lane miles and is valued at over $600 million and represents the city's largest infrastructure asset. To track the condition of the city pavement asset, staff has been using the Street Saver Pavement Management Program, or PMP, since 2003. The use of this tool is common throughout the public works industry. Street Saver includes all the city's public streets in a database along with the area of the pavement and its current condition. The pavement condition rating is based on several factors that, when input, provide a numerical score or a pavement condition index, more commonly referred to as PCI, that is between 0 and 100. 0 basically representing a pot-filled gravel road and 100 a brand new, newly constructed road. The PCI is input based off of field inspections or at the time of construction, and then predicted by the program based off a standard degradation pavement curve. An average PCI of 70 or above is considered excellent or good. At the time this report was compiled, the city street network had an average PCI of 73. Just recently, O&M completed this year's street inspections, and the PCI is actually raised to 74. And as you can see by the chart, Elk Grove ranks near the top when compared to surrounding jurisdictions. The report provides details of the city street network, current pavement conditions, funding sources, and impacts of the current funding level. The chart here shows the city's historical resurfacing since 2003. As you can see, the number of miles treated each year has greatly fluctuated. The reason for this fluctuation is due to two reasons. First, treatment types vary in expense, and two, it matters on the year that the street is constructed. So if a project is funded over multiple years, it won't show up until the actual year it is built. Since 2011, the city has averaged roughly $3 million on resurfacing a year, which is lower than previously reported. The reason for this is previous estimates included non-street maintenance expenses like medians or road widenings or other improvement work. Non-maintenance expenses need to be excluded to accurately reflect the funding needs. When looking at the chart, you can see the city's PCI has increased since 2015. The increase was the result of field inspection data being input into the Street Saver program, not because of the amount of resurfacing work being performed during this time. Prior to the field inspections, the software applied an average degradation curve to predict PCI ratings. Actual inspections are critical to seeing how a street network is actually degrading. Currently, O&M inspects half the arterials and collectors and a quarter of the residential streets each year. Street Saver's average degradation curve was developed to be the average for streets across a vast number of jurisdictions, all varying in age, construction methods, traffic levels, etc. Staff concluded that since city streets are relatively new, built to current standards, and have good drainage systems, they are degrading at a slower rate than Street Saver predicts. In updating the PMP, two main items needed to be reviewed: funding sources and treatment options. During the review and updating of the program, SB 1 was passed, providing a new source of funding for resurfacing. The bill provided several funding sources, the main one being the Road Maintenance Rehabilitation Account, or RMRA, which will dedicate roughly $3 million a year for road maintenance. With this funding and the city's existing funding, like Measure A and the Street Maintenance Zone 1 and 5 assessments, we estimate the city will now average $6.2 million spent annually on resurfacing. The Street Saver program estimates that $12.1 million is needed per year to maintain an average of 70 throughout the city. The annual deficit in pavement management has been reduced from approximately $8.9 million to $5.9 million. An important note is the 6.2 only includes money currently identified. Grants or other awards may increase the funding level in the future, but currently are not included due to the inconsistency in receiving them. Staff continues to pursue these grants and other sources of funding to close the gap. The other main item of focus was treatment options, which were examined and adjusted. Staff looked for the most cost-effective and efficient ways to use our limited resurfacing money. Staff updated and added treatments that met this criteria, ensuring that the resurfacing money was stretched while reducing overhead costs. In doing this, staff identified 4 criteria in developing the PMP for the future. First, utilization of cost-effective resurfacing treatment options. Second, focusing on areas with the lowest PCI. And third, performing regular maintenance every 10 years. And fourth, use of localized repairs as a stopgap. The last 2 criteria are really the critical ones for the program. Regular maintenance is key to catching issues before they become major costs. The implementation of the annual crack sealing program will reduce water intrusion and future failures. And at a cost of less than 65 cents a square yard, this low-cost maintenance task will greatly reduce future maintenance costs. The other criteria for of importance is localized repairs. Localized repairs like base failures or dig outs, removed areas of failed asphalt, and if necessary, replace the base. By doing these earlier and not just when the street is being resurfaced, will reduce the growth of the failures and again reduce future maintenance and resurfacing costs. Both of these activities affect the PCI greatly by lowering the severity of the pavement deficiencies and extending pavement life. The final part of the report was to look at how these changes affect the city's pavement network in the future. StreetSaver allows users to examine what impacts certain funding levels and treatment options have on the jurisdiction's street network. With these changes, we projected what the city's street network PCI would be over the next 10 years. Based off of the current funding level of $6.2 million and the treatment options, StreetSaver estimates the city's average PCI will drop to 63 by 2028. The reduction will increase the number of streets in the poor and very poor condition and will increase localized repair needs and costs. But as stated earlier, the roads are not failing as quickly as the program has predicted. And in the end, staff is recommending a conservative correction factor that the city's average PCI rate should be 2 to 3 points higher than what StreetSaver predicts 10 years from now. This would mean if the current funding level was maintained, the overall PCI rating in the year 2028 should be 65 to 66. Going forward, staff will continue with regular inspections to better track actual street conditions and to adjust priorities based off of real data. Second, continue to pursue cost-effective treatments and new technologies that stretch resurfacing funding. And lastly, continue to pursue new sources of funding to close the shortfall. The final thing I wanted to discuss was Proposition 6, a statewide ballot initiative to repeal SB 1, which is on the November 6, 2018 ballot. Should Proposition 6 pass, the established 5-year resurfacing list would be reduced. Page 2 of the Appendix B, and shown here, shows the streets currently funded by SB 1. Staff estimates that only 50% of the fiscal year 2019 streets program for treatment would be resurfaced if SB 1 was repealed. All future street treatments in fiscal years 20 through 23, which include SB 1 funding, would be eliminated unless other funding sources were found or other maintenance services were reduced to offset the lost funding. If the source of funding is lost, the city's funding level will reduce to its previous level of roughly $3 million annually. Without a new source of funding to replace it, StreetSaver predicts the city's average PCI will drop to 58 in 10 years, and then will begin to drop rapidly after that. The SB 1 repeal would have different effects on the overall PCI for each of the street maintenance zones depending on the number of assessed properties. In the report, street maintenance zone funding was discussed specifically for zones 1 and 5. The city is comprised of 6 maintenance zones, identified as 0 through 5, as shown on the map. An important note is Zone 0 is excluded from the street maintenance zone district. Zones 1 and 5, being the newest areas of the city, are mostly or fully assessed. This means both of these zones are collecting enough funding through their street maintenance zone assessment to fund all recommended resurfacing. Figure 5 of the report shows the current average PCI for all zones within the city. Both zones 1 and 5 are currently estimated to maintain their current average PCI without any additional funding over the next 10 years. The resurfacing program for the remaining 4 zones is entirely dependent on SB 1 or other non-street maintenance zone funding. If SB 1 is repealed, this will reduce the funding for these zones by approximately $14 million over the next 5 years, not including grant funding. In addition, the overall PCI in these zones is lower than that found in zones 1 and 5, whereas zones 1 and 5 are currently at a PCI of 82 and 80 respectively. The other 4 zones average closer to a PCI of 73, meaning that the treatments needed to maintain this level are more expensive and would reduce the total linear miles the city is able to resurface each year. Should Proposition 6 pass and SB 1 be repealed, Public Works staff will continue to work to secure other sources of funding and look for cost savings to offset the funding shortfall. Without a new source of funding, however, zones 0, 2, 3, and 4 will see their average PCI drop over the next 10 years. And that concludes my presentation. to answer any questions.
Any questions? Okay, Councilman Hume?
Yeah, thank you. Sean, I apologize, but page 2 of Appendix B in our staff report, most of the titles came out as rectangles with X's, and so I couldn't tell what that map was. But, so does this map that shows what funding is funded by SB1 comport with page 1 that lines it out more and which segments will be done in which years?
Yes, correct. So the section kind of on the mid-right, which is supposed to show the funding amounts, shows 16.6 million in SB1 funding, 3.7 million in local and grant funding, 1.5 in maintenance zone 1 funding, 850,000 in maintenance zone 5, and then in addition, 8.5 in maintenance funding, which is used by the O&M division in doing asphalt repairs and crack sealing.
So then, just to tease this out, so I understand what I'm looking at here, if all of the green goes away,
yes,
then obviously that correlates and affects the years that are being represented on the previous map.
Correct.
Okay, and then my final question is this infographic available online or somewhere where myself or I can refer people to it just to see?
I'm not sure if it is, but we'll check tomorrow morning and make sure it is, and we'll let you know.
Okay. I think it's a pretty valuable, I mean, it speaks volumes as far as how far that money goes and what we're going to be scraping if we can't, in order to make these things happen in the years that we're proposing. Because I can tell you from people I talk to, even the years that we're proposing with being fully funded isn't fast enough for many people, so.
No, good. Thank you. Right, this point, I want to open for public comment. Seeing that no members of the public sign up to speak, we'll close public comment. Council deliberation and direction.
It's a receive and file.
All right, next item.
Take us on to item 10.4, which consider a resolution approving a comprehensive update to the City of Elk Grove construction specifications, improvement standards, and standard drawings.
Evening, Mayor, Vice Mayor, council members. My name is Richard Shepard. I'm a supervising engineer for Wildan, and I'm here to present.
You look awfully familiar. Have we met?
Yeah, a ways back, maybe. Thank you. So I do have a small presentation if you want to see it. It's regarding our standards update. Basically 3 documents. They've already been gone through 2 large major updates since we were incorporated. This is the 3rd update. If you'd like to see the presentation, I'm happy to present it.
Go ahead.
I don't need to see the presentation, and furthermore, I don't need to have this amount of paperwork in my binder for something that could have been redlined and summarized in executive summary.
Yeah, I understand. It's one of the largest agenda items I've ever seen.
Not deforesting our planet for things I'll never read.
Yeah.
Yes, but thank you for getting it to us.
So would you like to see the presentation?
I would pass.
I'll second that, yeah. Okay, I think we're good.
Okay.
Right, thank you.
So do you believe there's a resolution to
Yeah,
adopt?
I'll move to adopt that. Oh, excuse me, is there public comment?
Let's open for public comment, and seeing no members of the public sign up to speak, we'll close public comment and council deliberation and direction.
I'll move to adopt the staff's recommendation.
Got a motion? Got a second? All in favor?
Aye.
Aye, opposed, abstention? All right, that's it. 8:16, adjournment.